Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Here is the word at noon. I am Timitokwe Olayiwola. NAFDAC says Nigeria can prevent breast ovarian cancers through exclusive breastfeeding. Ugandan leader accuses World Bank of coercion over its anti-lesbian transgender legislation. Candidate in Ecuador's presidential election, Fernando Villavicencio, shot dead. The Director General of National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has urged nursing mothers in Nigeria to always espouse optimal breastfeeding of their children with a view to lowering the risk of breast and ovarian cancers. Speaking during this year's World Breastfeeding Week celebration with the theme Enabling Breastfeeding, Making a Difference for Working Parents, Professor Adeyeye said breastfed babies have stronger immunity and a reduced risk of suffering many childhood illnesses and infections. The NAFDAC boss, who was represented by the Director of Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, Mrs. Eva Edwards, added that it is also associated with longer-term health benefits, including reduced risk of overweight and obesity in childhood and adolescent. She explained that breastfeeding also provides health benefits to mothers by helping prevent postpartum bleeding, support child spacing, lower the risk of breast and ovarian cancers, and quick return to pre-pregnancy body weight. Uganda's President Mr. Yoweri Museveni has accused the World Bank of seeking to coerce the government over its anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender legislation. It follows the announcement by the lender that it is suspending any new laws to the country on the grounds that the law against same-sex relations contradicts its values. President Museveni said Uganda will develop with or without loans. He added that it is unfortunate the lender is seeking to coerce them into abandoning the faith, culture, principles and sovereignty by using money. It will be recalled that President Museveni signed the anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender law in May this year, which imposes death penalty for aggravated homosexuality and a 20-year jail term for promoting homosexuality. The legislation has been condemned by Ugandans and global human rights groups, as well as the UN, the US, and other countries. The US and UN are concerned about the health and safety of Niger's elected president, Mr. Mohamed Bazoum, who has spent more than 2 weeks under house arrest. UN Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres also said he was concerned about the reportedly deplorable living conditions the family were in. It will be recalled that Mr. Bazoum was deposed last month. Earlier, Mr. Bazoum's party said he and his family were being detained under cruel and inhumane conditions. Since then, a military junta has ruled Niger while Mr. Bazoum has been kept in the presidential palace. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Mr. Anthony Blinken has assured Mr. Bazoum of the U.S. ongoing support. Mr. Bazoum's political party, PND's Taraya, claimed in a statement that Mr. Bazoum and his family had no access to running water, electricity, fresh goods, or doctors. Pakistan's parliament has been formally dissolved, but polls meant to be held within 90 days will likely be delayed The Electoral Commission says electoral boundaries must be redrawn to reflect fresh census data, which is a months-long process. Reports has it that former Prime Minister Imran Khan was last week arrested and jailed and then barred from politics for 5 years. He had openly challenged the powerful military establishment and claimed it was petrified of elections. The outgoing Prime Minister, Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, and his government had been given 3 days to name an interim leader. This is the Word at Noon, coming to you from Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, Voice of the West, Nigeria. Now, a mid-news message. Don't struggle in life to be a man of success. Instead, always try to become a man of value. A man who posted violent threats against President Joe Biden and other officials online was shot dead during a Federal Bureau of Intelligence raid. Information has it that agents were attempting to serve an arrest warrant on Mr. Craig Robertson at his home in Utah, just hours ahead of a planned visit to the state by Mr. Biden. A criminal complaint said Mr. Robertson posted threats on Facebook against Mr. Biden and a prosecutor pursuing criminal charges against Donald Trump. The Federal Bureau of Intelligence declined to give more details. A candidate in Ecuador's upcoming presidential election has been shot dead at a campaign rally. Fernando Villavicencio, a member of the country's National Assembly, was attacked as he left the event in the northern city of Quito. A member of his campaign team told newsmen that Mr. Villavicencio was getting into a car when a man stepped forward and shot him in the head. Current President Mr. Guillermo Lasso vowed the crime will not go unpunished. Witnesses said the 59-year-old Mr. Villavicencio was shot 3 times. The country's Attorney General said on social media that the suspect was also shot in an exchange of bullets with security and later died from his injuries. Information has it that 9 people suffered injuries, including a candidate for assembly and 2 police officers. A prisoner believed to have been released early to fight with Wagner mercenaries in Ukraine has been accused of committing a double murder in Russia after returning home from the war. Reports has it that Demyan Kevyurian, who was given an 18-year imprisonment sentence in 2016, has been arrested for killing a young man and a woman on their way home from work. Meanwhile, Mr. Kevyurian denies the accusation. According to reports, Mr. Kevyurian is not the only convict freed early to fight, pardoned, and then accused of re-offending. A former inmate confessed that Mr. Kevyurian is one of 150 prisoners recruited by Wagner last year when the head of the mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, visited his prison. And here again are the highlights of the world at noon. The Director General of National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has urged Nigerian nursing mothers to always espouse optimal breastfeeding of their children with a view to lowering the risk of breast and ovarian cancers. Uganda's President, Mr. Yoweri Museveni, has accused the World Bank of seeking to coerce the government over its anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender legislation. He also told you that a candidate in Ecuador's forthcoming presidential election has been shot dead at a campaign rally. That was the Word at Noon, edited by Olushola Egbodofo and delivered by Temitope Olayiwola. Today's news talk takes a look at the harmful effects of improperly built filling stations in residential areas. It is written by an intern in the News and Current Affairs Department, Ridwan Bapawale.
Over the years, Nigeria has witnessed countless instances of filling stations springing up in close proximity to residential areas. One of the causes is the rapid increase in the demand for fuel. Lack of proper planning also play a significant role as some developers prioritize profits over public welfare. Findings identified that several filling stations were constructed without adhering to safety regulations. For example, the infamous incident of the fire outbreak of NU filling station located at Use Zone 1 area of Abuja on Friday 28th of January this year, where the filling station caught fire, resulting in the loss of extensive properties, which was blamed on the failure to adhere to safety regulation. The effects of improperly built filling stations in residential areas are many. There is a significant risk to the safety and well-being of residents. In case of an accident or leakage, the consequences could be disastrous. Also, the pollution caused by these stations add to the already worsened air quality, posing health risk to both residents and the environment. Further future impacts of this practice are deeply concerning. As cities continue to grow and expand, the number of residents living near filling stations will inevitably increase, and this leads to increased risks, worsen the potential of accidents and associated hazards, while the long-term effects of pollution on public health and the environment are still unimaginable. Newstalk urges relevant agencies of government to strictly enforce zoning regulations and urban planning guidelines. This includes that filling stations are constructed in areas away from residential areas. Additionally, regular safety inspections and audits should be conducted to ensure compliance with safety standards. We advise proposed locations to undergo thorough evaluations that consider their distance from residential areas, while environmental impact assessment should also be mandatory so as to ensure proper waste management and pollution control measures. Finally, Newstalk believes that public awareness campaigns can play a vital role. Communities need to be educated about the potential dangers associated with improperly built filling stations. Encouraging citizens to report any violations or safety concerns to relevant authorities can help prevent ugly incidents. A stage in time saves 9.
That news talk took a look at the harmful effects of improperly built filling stations in residential areas, written by an intern in the News and Current Affairs Department, Ridwan Bapawale. The piece was presented by Nafisa Njidile. For more about us, visit www.osbcng.org. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.